Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday morning thought for today. This is an opportunity for us just to take a little bit more time to look at the passage we read together on Sunday. And we read that passage where Jairus came to plead to Jesus to come and heal his daughter because his daughter was in a very bad way. But also in the middle of the story, there's this woman who we don't know an awful lot about her, apart from the fact that she had this bleed for 12 years. She'd been to doctors. They hadn't really helped her. She'd obviously spent all her money going to doctors. And so now she was really in desperation. She had nothing left. We don't know if she had family. We don't know if she was ever married. We don't know if she had a job of any sort. We don't know anything about her. But we have to assume that what we do know is that she was most likely a social outcast, because she would have brought the threat of uncleanliness to anyone who was trying to keep themselves ritually clean. The whole idea of that is contained in Sunday's message. If you want to know more about it, you've got to go back and look at that. But there's something that happened within this story that I hadn't thought about until I was reading through one of my commentaries. And it's always good, if you're preparing a message to share with somebody on a Bible passage, that you don't just speak your thoughts on it. You try to give them what commentators who have hopefully prayed about and studied and knew the whole background an awful lot better, and maybe have greater insight into whatever it is you're studying. Or you simply get out the sermons that other people have preached, and you read them through, or you listen to them and you glean what you can, so that you yourself know through prayerful preparation what it is God wants you to say about that passage. Now, I hadn't considered this one fact before until I was reading through this little tiny book that I have here. You can maybe see it. It's a huge book. It's a very heavy book. It's Matthew Henry's commentary on the Bible. And the print is so small in it. And it takes forever. I don't think I'll ever read the whole thing. But it's every now and then I dip into it just because I want to try and get Matthew Henry's ideas on certain things. And as he was talking about this woman, he refers to her as coming in a sort of clandestine way, almost undercover, so she was in disguise so that no one would recognize her. And he refers to her coming like this, to steal a cure for herself. I had never thought of it like that. To me, it was simply her needing healed, therefore she did what she needed to do to get healed. Matthew Henry basically calls it some sort of theft that she decided to steal. She was obviously coming undercover because if anyone had seen her, they would have chased her because she was unclean and they didn't want to become unclean. But there's this sense that she hadn't come to Jesus. She hadn't been able to speak to Jesus. She hadn't allowed Jesus to say to her, as he did a number of times, "What can I do for you?" But instead, she took matters into her own hand. And she stretched out and she touched the cloak of Jesus as he walked by. Now, is that theft? Is she stealing a cure? I don't know. There's an argument there, I suppose, that she was doing something. She was doing something slightly irresponsible, because we thought about this as well. The very fact that she was prepared to touch Jesus meant that he then became ceremonially unclean, and he wasn't able to do the things he was meant to: withdraw and spend at least the rest of that day until sunset, not getting involved with anyone, not going near anyone, because he was considered unclean. And so by doing that, she then potentially took Jesus out of his ministry. She almost nullified anything that he was able to do. And he was actually at that moment on his way to Jairus' house to heal Jairus' daughter. So there was a degree of selfishness there. But we're also talking about somebody who was desperate. And sometimes we look at people and we make judgments on people before we actually know what's going on, before we know the circumstances they're going through. This whole business of before you judge somebody, walk a mile in their shoes so you understand what they're going through. And this pandemic has affected so many people in so many different ways. And I've been hearing different people saying different things about other people. And some of it has frustrated me and annoyed me and hurt me, because we don't know what other people have been going through. Some people have had an horrendous time. For some people, it's been the worst year in their life for so many reasons. And sometimes we can be very quick to judge people because we think we know. So my thought for today is simply, I want to caution you to think before you condemn somebody, to think before you label somebody. Give yourself time to get to know them and their circumstances and the situation. And rather than condemning them, see if there's anything you can do to actually help them. We can be so quick to jump in with both feet, and sometimes we make a mess of things and we have to back out and apologize, etc. But sometimes we also are guilty of saying to somebody else, somebody so-and-so down the road there, they such and such and such and such. And we turn it into gossip. Be very careful. We don't know what each other is going through. This woman, we can't begin to imagine what it was that made her feel that all she had to do, all she could do, was stretch out and touch the Master's cloak. So that's our thought for today. Be slow to judge. Get to know people. Get to understand their circumstances, because you've no idea what people are going through. Thanks for listening. God willing, we'll see you again tomorrow. God bless.